This is J. Krishnamurti's second discussion with students in Saanen, 1968.
What shall we talk about together?
You talk about the observer and the observed, and never continue about it. The observer and the observed.
The observer and the observed. Do you want to discuss that? Talk it over? Or something else?
We need to talk about the danger when we're listening of not listening to a lot of ideas, but to something else. And how do you know when you're not listening to just ideas?
What else? Okay, you
People are always pursuing happiness. Is there in fact any such thing?
Right. Is there any happiness at all? Perhaps if we could discuss the question of the observer and the observed, perhaps we could include the various other questions in it. May we begin with that? When you see something, a tree, a person, and so on, are we aware that we are the observers? When I see you and you see me here on the platform, are you aware that you are the observer? Or are you just seeing? Huh? Just seeing, is that it? Let's go into this together slowly. It's very interesting, this question, because it'll open up a great deal if we can go into it thoroughly and easily. When you look, are you aware that you are the observer, or are you merely looking? When does the observer come into being? When? When thought is there. Do please go into it yourself. When do you become aware as the observer? Oh no. Please, this is, you must This is a meeting for the young people. I am sorry if they're older people. Apparently, we can't prevent them. Come? No, please. It's meant only for young people. I don't know why I'm here, but I'm there. What is the whole problem of seeing, hearing? Is there any problem at all? You see an advertisement. You hear something on the radio, or read a page of a book. It enters into you, into one, and without our taking notice of it even. It penetrates. There is this process of constant impingement on the mind, whether we are conscious or unconscious. That's going on all the time, isn't it? As you walk down that street, you notice the shops, the people sitting there in the restaurant, the cars going by, the yellow car which is of the post office and so on. You notice all that. You are not actually observing. You are just taking note of it all. And you are not conscious that you are the observer, are you then? No? What do you say? No? Then when does the observer come into being? Do please, don't answer me yet. Let's go into it slowly.
When one tries to focus one's attention on a particular object, or limit one's attention to a particular object.
Limit one's attention to a particular object.
Or concentrate on a particular.
Concentrate, that's right.
You won't react.
When you put a name on it.
When you give a name to it.
When you look at it with values or judgments or criticism.
When you look with values and judgment.
Doesn't our attention alternate between the object observed and a certain amount of self-awareness? I believe this does happen to people.
Yes, sir, that's what we are discussing.
Well, it's a continuous process. It can go on alternating without necessarily reaching a point where both the object observed and ourselves related.
We are asking, sir, when the observer comes into being. When there is conflict. When there is some goal or desire. So I wish we can add more words, more phrases. But if you could put it actually what takes place when you are observing, when you say, I have seen the hills, the mountains, the river, the people. There, you, the observer is not. Now, when does the observer come for yourself? When are you aware of observing and knowing you are the observer and the thing observed?
When one compares the present observation with the previous observations, of our previous observations in the memory house, or the memories of the previous observations.
Memories interfering with the observation, then the observer comes into being. Can't we be a little more simple? It'll get very complex later. Can't we begin very simply?
When Mike says, I am now looking or seeing or observing or whatever.
When there's light and this light.
When you think about the observer. When there's space.
Look, sir, I'm sitting here and you're sitting there. When you look at me and I look at you, are you aware as an observer, looking at the observed? What?
I'm aware of the usage.
No, sir, I'm taking a very simple fact. Here we are. Here is a person sitting on a platform, you sitting down there. When you look at the speaker, are you aware you as the observer and the speaker as the observed? Yes? Huh? Now, when does that take place? Why didn't you, when you go through the street, you also observed? You didn't, huh? It wasn't a direct observer and the observed, right? Huh? Is this too... Now, I'm asking you, are you aware that you are the observer, the speaker as the observed? And if you are not the observer, huh, there is only the observed, then when does the observer come into being? And then do watch it in yourself, sir. Don't theorize about it.
There seems to be two things. The things coming into you, and then there's an identification with a part of it.
The moment you pay attention to the observer.
So don't theorize, if I may suggest. Just see how it comes. I wish you would be simple about it.
When the feeling is inside, there is a responsive emotion.
Here we are, madam. You were there and I'm here. When do you become the observer? Oh, so do watch it. Do it. Actually, you'll see the extraordinary thing that will happen. You don't go at it, you theorize. Now, watch it, sir. Watch it a minute. I stopped you from theorizing, right? I stopped you. And what has taken place there? What has happened now? You become the observer, don't you? If you're allowed to go on theorizing endlessly, you wouldn't be aware as the observer, would you? It's only when there is a challenge, right? When there is a conflict, when you, as the observer, has an image about the speaker, and that image is challenged, then you become the observer, don't you? No? No.
Isn't there the observer already before the image is challenged? Just when
The observer, questioner says, is already there before the question, before the challenge. But we are not aware of the observer. And I'm asking, when do we become aware of this division as the observer and the observed?
When the intense observation stops, then
when we want to change what is into something else.
When I must react to something to
I wish you would experiment with yourself. It's so simple, really. When what's that? When you?
When thought comes in.
When thought comes in. You haven't answered my question at all. Here you are sitting there, I'm sitting here. And when do you become conscious, aware that you, as an observer, and the thing observed, which is me, are you aware of this division?
Yes.
Huh? Obviously you are aware of this division, are you? So why can't we be simple about this?
Well, you've made it very difficult because you've forced a certain self-consciousness on
What?
You force a certain self-consciousness on us, and obviously when you say, well, let us observe, well, now we are aware that we are here, you are there, and it's awfully difficult to see exactly what happens, because...
Wait, that's enough. So there is a division.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. There is a division. Then, what is the observer? Is the observer merely the entity who sees with visually the tree, the person, the mountain? That plus something else, isn't it? No? The image. Huh?
All that is not the observed must be the observer here.
I said, what is the observer? And the observer is the image, the memory, the conclusions, the ideas, and so on. The observer, please don't accept this, look at it. The observer is the whole sum of thought, right? That is, I see you and I recognize you. I say, you are so-and-so. The naming, the image which I have built about you, the image being flattery or the insult, the friendship, the companionship, and so on. If I am married, the nagging, the pleasure, all that is involved in it. So the observer is this totality of memory and tradition and habit, right? No? With regard to circumstances. The circumstances may vary, but I carry this totality of memory, tradition, habit with me and adjust the memory, the habit, the tradition to the environment. This is going on all the time, consciously or unconsciously, isn't it? Oh, Lord, come on. No?
Yes, but then you do not perceive, in fact.
No, wait. First see what is actually taking place, sir. I see you. I had lunch with you yesterday, or tea with you. You said pleasant things. And I remember those pleasant things. And you said rather critically about something with regard to me. And also that remains. Both the pleasure and the pain remains, right? And when I meet you next time, that image which I have built meets you, right? Please, go on. So my relationship with you is based on this image, right? So I see, the observer is made up of all this. And he's adding all the time to that memory, tradition, habit, which is the image. He's taking away from it and adding to it all the time, consciously or unconsciously, right? If I criticize you and say, look, that color you are wearing is not very nice, you have already an image of me. And if I say to you, oh, how beautiful you are, there is another image of me. The image being the symbol, the word, the habit, the tradition, and so on. So, when I meet you next time, the image comes in between me and you, And you have an image about me too. So there is a division between you and me based on these two images, right? I don't know if you're following on this. I have an image about the politician, the president, the whatever they are. I'm a Republican or a Democrat or a Labour or a Tory. And I divide people into categories, into races, into those whom I like and those whom I don't like. Huh?
Does it have something to do with wanting something?
No, just see what is taking place first. Then one asks, why does this go on? Why does this take place? Why can't I meet you every time as though it was the first time? You understand the question? That's right, but why does this process go on? You understand? I met you yesterday. You said pleasant things to me. And you're my friend. I like you. I have an image which is pleasant about you. And I meet somebody else who has insulted me, who hasn't flattered me. And I have an image about him. And these images remain. And I said to myself, why? Why do they persist? Huh? Why does the image persist? Why can't I meet you as though I had no image about you, though you had flattered me, though you had insulted me? Huh? No, madam. What? If you had, if you had no images, what would you do? No, look, you see, you don't do it. You theorize about it, unfortunately. Look, sir, very carefully look at it, sir. See what is involved in this.
You have a much more open attitude towards the person.
No.
Non-prejudiced attitude.
I know, I'm not talking about attitude. Why do we do this? Oh, sir. You just throw out words, you don't look, you don't see, look. Why do I do this all my life?
Are you feeling more secure?
Come on.
More secure?
More?
Secure.
Secure. Look. What is habit? habit is this constant repetition of accepting an image which is pleasurable and rejecting an image which is not pleasurable. Right? And this is going on all the time. And I say to myself, what is involved in this? Why does the mind do this all the time? The mind has great inertia, right? The mind is indolent, lazy. So once I have established the mind has established an image about you, and it can go on. Say, well, I met him, he's insulted me, you know what an ass he is, and so on. I discard it. And I say, oh, he's such a nice chap because he flattered me. And that's very easy to divide human beings as friends and non-friends. And I can go on. The mind can go on lazily balancing between these two. Right? There is an inherent laziness, which has become a habit too. See what would happen. If I met you and you flattered me, and I looked at that flattery with clarity, with interest, with attention, I'd say, yes, he is rather stupid flattering me. What for? And I would discard it. It has no importance. It would go away. And if you insulted me, I would look at it equally. And you may be right in what you say. And if what you say is true, I find out, go into it, and finish with it. Which means the mind must be extraordinarily alert all the time, right? I don't know if you're meeting all this. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. Freedom. So, the mind is afraid not to function in habits. Which is obvious. The animal, if you had a dog, have you ever noticed, if you have a dog, I'm sure, how it objects to go along a new path? Right? It is like with the child, the same fairy story must be repeated without any variation. And it will object to any variation. Right? And the same with us. So, the observer becomes established through habit, right? Which is through inattention. When I attend, when you flatter me, it's very simple. I say, yes. He's flattering me because he wants something from me or he likes me. It's simple. I brush it away. And he insults me and I see either it is not so or it is so. If it is so, I go into it. If it is not so, I discard it. So the mind, through inattention, please follow, through inattention, breeds habits. Right? Some of you smoke, don't you? Did you smoke consciously when you began? Or because others did it, so you took it up? And having established a habit, it becomes extraordinarily difficult to break it. Physical habits and more so psychological habits. Right? And the mind says, if I break the cultural habits and behavior, I'm lost. The Catholic has to go to the Mass every day if he can, and that is an established habit from childhood, as it is various habits with the Hindu, Muslims and so on. And he says, when he doesn't go to the Mass, he's lost. You know all this. So the observer is the builder of images, right? Plus or minus? Which one? No, that's only part of it. You know, it's much easier to look at things with eyes that have habits. I look at you and say, well, he's a German, French, Russian, Indian, or whatever it is, and it's very simple. But to look at you without a name, without a label, without an image is extraordinarily difficult and interesting. If something new takes place, no? Look at another phenomena of this same thing. I say, I know him or her. I know him because I met him 5 years ago. We had talked together, we had been some time together. He has did this, he insulted, he flattered, he was rather crazy and neurotic, and so on. I know him. I don't say I knew him in 1963. But I say I know him. That is, I know him in the present. 5 years have elapsed. Follow this slowly. And in the meantime, he might have changed. He might have become less neurotic. He might have undergone various experiences and so on, which has brought about a complete change in him. But I stick to the image which I have had in 1963 about him. And I don't want to break that image. I keep on saying I know him. He's not good, he's not a nice chap. Or he is a good chap. So my mind refuses to function without an image, without a formula. Because that's the easiest way to live. Right? He is my guru. Is that all right? He is my guru. Yes. Did you hear that story? That cartoon in the New Yorker? One hippie, very strong, all the rest of it. He says to the other, he says, my guru is more tranquil than yours. Ready to fight him. So, I have a guru. And I like him. He promises a great deal. And I want to worship somebody. I want to follow somebody because I'm a bit lost, I'm confused, and I want to find some kind of comfort, happiness, a sense of peace. So I stick to him. I've established the tradition of gurus. Whether they are right or wrong, whether silly, whether absurd, it doesn't matter. Because I daren't be critical. So I live in habits. I'm a Christian, that's finished. Or a Hindu or a communist. So the observer is the builder of images and formulas. Now, when do I become aware of this? When the formula doesn't fit, then there is conflict, then there is an adjustment, and I go on. But I'm not aware of the whole process. I'm only aware of adjustment and the conflict, and immediately another image is made. So I'm asking, when do I become aware of this phenomena, of this process of building images? No, sir, don't answer me, find out. You know what we're talking about is one of the most dangerous things. Because the whole world lives on images, formulas. And we are attacking the very root of this thing. Right? And if you see this whole process, you become a very dangerous man to the image builders. I don't see, huh? Does that not? Yeah. When I become aware of the observer, the builder of images, it is an end to that builder. That's the question. before we answer that, sir, when do you or I become aware of the building?
Usually we become aware of other people's images when we think they're prejudiced.
Usually we become aware of other people's images when we think when we think they are prejudiced. Leave the others alone. When do you become aware of this image builder?
When he is challenged.
When you are?
When he is challenged. You are challenging him now.
I am challenging you now, he says. And are you aware? Do you become conscious that you are building images? See what you're saying, sir, careful. I am challenging you. That is, I'm asking you, when are you aware of the builder of these images? Huh? Then you say, I am aware through your challenge. Right? See what happens then. Then you are dependent on challenges to be aware. I don't know if you follow this. Yes, sir.
I'd like to say that if we want to see or to know something, we often experience that the images that we've created are inadequate and are barriers to such perception. If we want to find out something about the nature of what we observe, then they are in the way. Then this judgment is a barrier, and we'd like to get rid of it.
When do you want to get rid of the image? The image, not the image maker. The difference in there. And is there a difference? There is, isn't there? I have an image about you, and I say, how silly. I put it aside. But much deeper issue is involved, which is, why is there this image building? That's much more fundamental question than merely removing one or two images. Create such an identity. Because it creates identity. Yes, sir.
You said yourself that images can be convenient. In our daily lives, for instance, when we want to take a train, we don't have to think about the entire significance of the train.
No, naturally.
So we use the image and we dispense with it. That's fine.
Image is not involved then.
No, image is not involved. But, sir, do
Well,
go...
I mean, you buy a ticket, you don't think out the whole process, the whole significance. You take a label, a formula, if you like, a shortcut in that sense. And you do not pursue investigation in that direction. So images can delimit, shall we say, the direction which we would like to pursue further investigation. And they are also convenient to keep our minds at least outwardly or apparently satisfied. If you it's like throwing a bone to a dog. He's busy, and he cannot take anything further.
No, sir, is that the issue? The issue we are talking is, as far as I see it, I may be mistaken, the issue is, when do I become aware of the image maker? Not getting rid of the images. Just a minute, sir, I'll come. Not getting rid of few images, few labels, few formulas, but the very root of this whole problem. When do I become conscious that I'm building images? Yes, sir.
When the process breaks down.
When the process breaks down,
when the mind is completely quiet.
no, sir.
Usually we don't give ourselves a chance to see the image maker. What happens is we react halfway through the image, and by our reaction, we either change the image or we hit someone or do something to someone else who does something back to us, which justifies the image, and thereby we keep the image.
So, you've said something, watch it.
Yes? So we have to go further. We have to let the whole thing take place.
Look, let's put it differently. There is the old brain. In all of us, there is the old brain. The old brain being the traditional, the habit, which the verbal, the image maker, right? The old brain. And there is a challenge. The old brain responds to it immediately. Right? Follow this. The challenge is new. Otherwise, it's not a challenge. So the old brain responds according to its conditioning. Now, can there be an interval between the challenge and the old response? I don't know if you're following this. You understand? I say, you say to me, it's silly to be a Hindu. And I am steeped in Hinduism. And I respond immediately. But if I didn't respond immediately, but waited a few seconds, you follow? The old brain becomes more quiet. I don't know if you're following all this. And being quiet, a new response might come out. Got it? Huh? And there is no self-control at all. Oh, that is a terrible, that's one of our traditions. It's one of our traditions, a part of our habit to say, I must discipline, I must control. You're back in the old regime, the old established order of thought. All right, sir, let's go into this little slowly. I want to know for myself what the image maker, I want to be aware when the image is being built. The image is being built when you flatter me or insult me. When you flatter me, I accept it, hold it. When you insult me, I react, and I don't like you. There is the beginning of the image maker. Part of it, right? The image maker begins from childhood, doesn't it? The mother, the father says, you must not, you must. You are a Christian, so-and-so is a heathen, and so on, so on. The image making begins right from childhood, right? And this has become an enormous habit. And when I meet a non-communist, and I being a communist, either say, well, he's a stupid man, or try to convert him, or try to assert myself that there is only one solution, which is through communism. So I am aware of the image maker only when I become conscious of what actually is taking place, right? What's that? Therefore, you need a challenge. Do I need a challenge? What does challenge do? I am asleep, I am caught in a habit, and challenge comes along and shakes me. Says, wake up. And I reluctantly wake up. Right? And when the challenge is finished, I have to go back to sleep, but little bit more sleepy or little less sleepy. And the next challenge comes along and shakes me again. This is how we live, right? So, challenge doesn't keep me awake at all. I don't know if you see that. If it is a pleasant challenge, I'll accept it. If it is unpleasant, I don't like it. A disturbing challenge, I don't like it. And I avoid it, push it away. So if I rely on challenges to keep me awake, I'm lost. I don't know if you see this. So I have to find out if there is a way of keeping awake without any challenge. Right? Is this getting all too complicated?
I'd like to go back 2 steps because something isn't very clear. Could I ask you a question? You said that when the image is being created, there is a necessity, as I understood it, an emotional content. Let's say of like or dislike. Cannot images be created without the participation of this entity?
Yes, sir. Yes, but you see, generally we said, the image, let's go back. When am I aware of this image making? That is the first question, right? When are you aware of it? You. And so the problem is, to go back to our original question, who is the observer? We're not concerned with the observed. We'll come to that little later. Who is the observer? The observer is the builder of these images from the very beginning of time. Tradition, culture, religion, social influences, all that. And when that image, that tradition, that memory remains, then there is the observer who looks at you with eyes that are clouded, with eyes that are spotted, with eyes that are traditional. And it is this that creates the division between the observer and the observed.
Then you say, sir, that the observer really is the observer.
Then you say the observer is the observed.
Do you mean that the maker of images is the image?
Do you mean the maker of the image is the image?
This has caused me a lot of confusion.
I'm afraid it is. Probably, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not belittling or insulting you. Probably you're not used to this kind of thinking. This kind of slow, deliberate, self-analytical, self-aware process. And that's why you get rather confused. If the speaker gave you a formula and you accept it, say, well, that's very clear. Now you can go ahead. Look, sir, what does freedom mean? Freedom means the ending of the observer, obviously. Because the observer is all this tradition, the established order, the social acceptance, morality, and all of that is the observer. What? Why is the mind so lazy? First of all, we are physically lazy. We don't like to exert. Have you noticed how you like to sleep little longer in the morning? No, I don't know. If you go into it, it's quite extraordinary. You stay in bed and you want to sleep little longer, stay quietly in bed. Because the previous day you have lived a hectic day. Right? You overate, you overexercise, you indulge too much, whatever you do. And the body is tired. Follow this step by step, you'll see it. The body is tired. And next morning, says, for goodness sake, just let's stay on a little longer. And you say, no, I'm getting lazy, I must force it up. Right? And you force it to make it get up. And there is a conflict between the mind says you must not be lazy, and the body is tired, which says, I'm tired, for goodness sake, leave me alone. Now, and you say that is laziness. But you don't go into it. You don't say, by Jove, I'm lazy this morning because I overate. I walked too much. I indulged in many things yesterday, sex or whatever you indulge in. But if one was aware of yesterday's activities, the next day you wouldn't be lazy. And the body becomes intelligent. I don't know if you have followed, you probably have not done all this. The body becomes intelligent without the interference of the mind. When the mind interferes with the body, and it does interfere, when you say, I like that taste better than the other taste, and I'm going to keep on eating that thing, which is the mind likes the taste. I don't know if you've done all these things yourself, it's great fun. But when the mind imposes on the body, of course there is not division, so categorical division, when the mind imposes what it thinks is discipline on the body becomes unintelligent. Oh, right? And hence there is a conflict between thought and the body. And so, laziness, to be really lazy is one of the most marvelous things. Right? To be lazy. To have leisure, to be lazy. You know, when you have leisure, then you begin to see things. Is it time? Midi, sir.
Just before you mentioned something about being without a challenge, and then we stopped and you went into something else. I was wondering if you could continue that.
So if I depend on challenge to keep me awake, then challenges and dependence on them become extraordinarily important. It's like taking drink to lose my inhibitions. Then I must have drinks. Right? And can I be free of my inhibitions without drink? Right? To be awake without challenge is quite a thing is very alive there. I don't depend on anybody. I don't know if you follow all this. On no book, on no individual, on no system, on no challenge. That means I must have tremendous energy. And that means there must be no dissipation of energy through conflict. And all the rest of it. So you see, all this is necessary as a foundation and nothing more. Because when you have laid the foundation rightly, without conflict, without fear, without all that, then the mind becomes extraordinarily alive. Not filled with information, calculations and all that. That's not aliveness. Then the mind becomes extraordinarily alert. Such a mind, being very alert, is very intelligent. And such a mind then can enter into a totally different dimension. I can't go into it because it will be merely verbal. So we better stop, don't you?
On Tuesday, on Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Wednesday, 11 o'clock in the morning. Is that all right?